Hi, we're going to start by building a simple walk cycle step by step over the course of several small videos. I'm going to do this as packaged up as I possibly can do. Walk cycles are one of the most complex things you can deal with in an animation. So we're going to break it down to its raw movements. Now, the first thing to really get your head around is the idea of a cycle. A cycle is something that goes around and repeats. Okay, but a walk cycle is not a repeating cycle. Remember, we were talking about bouncy balls, and the ball bounced up and down, and that was a repeating action, but the movement went backwards. It doesn't work like that for a walk cycle, because a walk cycle's continuous movement goes around as you follow the heel on the foot. Okay, so it requires us to think about how a leg is constructed and how it works in interaction with the ground. Okay, so first thing to get under control is to identify the leg shapes that we'll be dealing with. So let's go in and do a quick, I'm going into an ActionScript 2 file. It doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, I'm going to open up my timeline if it's not open already. Okay, your interface should be set up much like mine. I can fit in window for the frame, all the standard settings. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to give myself a ground layer to work from. Reference. Okay, and I'm just going to use the line tool to initially represent the ground, and I'm going to paint a little X mark. Oh, I don't have pressure sensitivity turned on. I'll fix that. A little X mark representing the hip. Now everything else will be done on separate layers. So let's not worry about that too much. So, okay, first thing is we create a new layer, and I'm going to call this leg rough. So this is our working leg rough, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw the position in red. Okay, just so we can see it of that leg. I'm going to lock the ground reference so we can see it, but we can't actually interact with it. And I've got the leg rough layer selected. I'm going to draw the first leg position. Now, a leg, of course, comes from the hip to the knee, and because this is kind of like a stick figure reference, you can easily see where it's all constructed. So the knee, the heel, and the foot itself. Okay. So as the character is walking along, surely there's lots of other movements going on. The hips are moving up and down and rotating. There's some quite complex things. But just getting used to the leg shape movement, let's start with that. Okay. So I'm going to turn this into a symbol. And the reason I'm going to turn it into a symbol is so we can reuse it later on, and we can chuck it in the library. So F8, I'm going to call this D192, which is your course, underscore 2D1, which is the class, walk cycles, which is the exercise, and leg underscore 01. So it's all labeled properly, making sure everything's labeled, and my reference is going to the registration there. I'm not going to worry too much about that, but we may keep it in the center. We may need to move the pivot later on. Okay. From that point, I'm going to double click and go in and edit that symbol. Okay. Now, a standard step in animation is a second long. and it's built up of several keyframes. The keyframes will tend to be about 3 frames apart, and the in-betweens between them. Okay, so one thing to note is that we build up a walk cycle, the leg movement, by drawing the legs from the extreme positions, and then we draw the drawings in between. Okay, our key positions. Okay, and then we draw the drawings in between those. So we're not drawing it in a linear fashion from 1 to frame 25. We're actually going to break it down. Middle, 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 middle. And you'll see what I mean. Okay, so from frame 1 to frame 25, because it's a cycle, it goes back to that original position when you're walking with the legs. So just remember that. I can put F6, and that leg will go back there. Okay. I do want to be able to see other frames, so I will turn on my onion skin. If you remember, that is right there. Okay, and at the moment it doesn't make any difference because both frames are the same. Okay, so it's breaking down from the middle to the middle to the middle to the middle. Let's do the first part of that. Okay, so the middle between frame 1 and frame 25, as we've been discovering, okay, is frame 13. It sits right in the middle there, and the whole second long cycle is broken straight in half by putting a frame on frame 13. Now we do that as an empty keyframe, shortcut F7 as we used to. Okay, just as a quick reminder, I won't be saying it again. Okay, and you can see that in the timeline it's left a blank spot there. We can see our frames in the onion skin, frame in front, frame behind. Okay, and I'm just going to draw the opposite position, because halfway through the leg is going to be swinging around, and I actually want to bend it at the knee slightly and have the toe touching the ground. So there's the knee, heel, and you can see I haven't changed the length of the leg. There is a little bit of a squash and stretch going on with a walk cycle, but we're doing a straight out walk cycle. So let's keep our measurements as close to equal as possible across the frames, and that's just by eye. I'm not expecting you to memorize anything, measure anything, just by eye. Get that perfect position. Okay, so now our leading point on any walk cycle is our heel. Okay, the heel on each of those points. Okay, you just have to remember that because the heel is the leading controlling position, okay, you'll see the movement that happens. And in fact, if I draw a blue line here so I can show you the walk cycle, the heel will end up doing sort of this movement as it kicks around. Just be aware of that. Okay, and the cycle. Okay, so then we cut those in half again. Halfway between frame 13 and frame 1 is frame 7. Okay, F7 again. Okay, and I may need to extend the wings of my onion skin out so I can see the other frames. Now the heel is the middle point, so from there to there the middle point is about there, giving the toe which follow. Okay, and I want to keep the leg the same length, so as it's coming across the middle, the leg will bend slightly. Okay, so even though it's the middle drawing, it's the knees slightly leaning towards the front. Remember, we're coming in an arc, so that knee will swing through as well. Okay, so it does need to bend to accommodate that. Right, next pose. Okay, frame 19 is in the middle between frame 13 and 25. F7. Okay, and that leg is being lifted up. Okay, so the heel itself is coming through, and halfway between this movement, this action across here, so the heel will sit somewhere in there, I'm assuming. Okay, flat across as the foot's dragged through. Okay, that sort of means that the knee itself hasn't really changed position from that front frame. Don't worry too much. It may look a little bit weird, but it does work out. So that's our shape of our leg. Okay. With that position in mind, we're going to take our time and draw the frames in between. Now our next frame is frame 4, 7 again. Okay, this time halfway through. Okay, same thing. Now the reason it's only moving halfway and a short distance is the knee is bending as it's going. Okay, the heel halfway is about there. Okay, and depending on your delay of putting the toe down, you can either put the foot flat or you can keep him running on his heel. I am going to draw the foot flat on the ground because I've got 2 frames before where I can actually put the toe down. Okay, next frame along, frame 10 in the middle, between frames 7 and 13. 7, halfway to where the knee is coming across. Okay, heel is coming to this point and up. Right. So I want to I might tilt it slightly as the foot peels off the ground and draw my lower leg. Okay. Next frame, frame 16, between frame 13 and 19. F6, oh sorry, F7, okay. And the leg is lifting up, swinging across, okay, from this point, halfway through. Now because there's no give on that leg, actually, there's no weight pushing it back up, it doesn't need to bend, it can go straight down. And it will go down in an arc because this bone won't change length. So that's about the depth of the knee. It's going down and then back up. The heel itself will flick up a little between there. So I'd say about there. And draw the leg in and sort of half position between those 2 poses. So sort of equalizing it. Okay. Next frame, F7. Okay, now this is the difficult one. What we're looking at is the leg swinging through. So we need to actually give our foot enough room to swing underneath. Because if I just kept that there and swung that lower leg around, it would hit the ground. So a person, when they're walking along, would lift up their leg. Now it's 3 frames between that position and that position. So about the same sort of movement is going to happen. Probably half the length of the calf. So that's about right. Okay, to the knee, the arc still going through, and the leg, okay, is coming, I think, here. Foot. That looks good. Foot is turning from that position to an upwards position, so it's traveling well over 90 degrees. Okay, so 45-degree angle down, plus maybe another, that's another 45-degree angle up, maybe another 22. So it's sort of this angle down as it's lifted through. Now, our walk cycle, without the in-betweens, all our keys, is done. Okay, and you can check that by pressing enter to let it run through. I'll turn off my onion skin and run that. To loop that, control loop playback. That one step is happening. Well done. I'll catch you back in the next video where we can talk about how to get that applied to a walk with 2 legs.